our society. If we cannot get the desired justice in the larger society, let us ensure that in our family we entrench justice. In our organization we entrench justice. And in our business dealings we uphold justice. By then we would have acquired this important attribute of Allah, which is next to piety. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر لي ولكم وأتوب إليه. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Takbir. Takbir once again.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Riskat Grandma Aisha Ajoke Salami. For your information, sir. Aisha Ajoke Salami, my granddaughter. Al-Qurani gave you one. My comment is that I really enjoy Barrister Trimidhi. The first experience I had with him was when we had Mushin, and there was some cases that we have to resolve. As an administrator, I was called into Shepherd that day to come and resolve the conflict. I had about one hadith from him, and I really appreciate him from that day. But he adájọ́ yẹn títí, brother mi wá sọ hadith kan fún wa wípé ẹjọ́ tá a dá yìí o, àbá yìí mọ̀ bóyá a gbé ẹ̀bi fún wa láre, ìwọ tá a gbé ẹ̀bi fún o, má dùnnú púpọ̀ o, kó o tó dé ta Ọlọ́run á gbọ́n dànù lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀ o. My dear sister, the second person tá a dáre fún, má bínú pa dáre fún ẹ o, kó o tó dé ta tó bá járe ni Ọlọ́run á change ẹ̀, á sọ ààrẹ yẹn, á sọ ọ́ di ẹ̀bi. I was weeping that day. I was weeping. Tí ó fa ikú ni wípé tó bá ṣe pé àwọn tí wọ́n jẹ́ majority of the judges, if they really go into the book of Allah, or they are closer to Muslims, or they check the Quran all the time, they will be very, very just. In that essence, I'm advocating for a paralegal. Although some of us may not study law, but if we have some quality of being a good judge, how can we be trained? The second one, I would have liked if my brother made reference to woman kadi that we have maybe in the time of the prophet or after the prophet, or in the contemporary world that we have now. Then the last one is people that study the Islamic law. I think they are coming up. We can try to get their directory and we can work with them so that they can join you in this struggle for Sharia for Lagos State. Thank God, my state, we are operating Sharia there. And from Kwara State, we hope Lagos State will have Sharia.
Thank you. Mine is more like a contribution, and it's to the effect that I agree with the speaker that Sharia law has its advantages over common law. But even at that, I want to differ on the fact that access to justice is really, really so expensive, because I believe that access to justice might have been expensive some 5 years ago, 10 years ago. But now there's a new regulation in place that such that if you want to become a senior advocate, there are numbers of pro bono cases, free cases, which you must have handled for the poor. So as a result of this regulation, a lot of lawyers are now becoming very aware, and they are taking up more free cases. So even commercial law firms who ordinarily don't do free cases are now taking a couple of free cases. So my contribution really is that the masses should know now that they can approach lawyers, some lawyers to handle their cases for them for free. But it's not like you now abuse it and start making it a norm. But that provision is now available, and most lawyers are aware, and we are happy to take up the responsibility.
Assalamu alaikum
wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I'm Dr. Abdullah. My own issue has to do with the issue of access to Sharia law in Nigeria. I am aware that today the Lagos State government has the alternative court for us to approach for administration of justice. And I'm also aware that there is a statute that is already being put in place by the Lagos State government to ensure that all civil cases go to the multi-dog. That means if you must get justice, then you must use the alternative dispute. I am happy with the effort by the brother to actually give us a good in-depth into the advantages of the Sharia. But I would have loved if from this sitting, we could actually arrive at a way in which we could start to seriously move that in Lagos State, we also have access to the Sharia. Like the sister already said, in Kwara State, you have the Sharia there. People can access the Sharia court. People can also access the alternative courts. But in Lagos State, we don't have things like that. It's the pathetic thing, though, is that the non-Muslims who are fighting Islam do not even want to have understanding of what Sharia even offers. So by just the mention of it, they are going to come out and say no to Sharia. The Islamic banking, for instance, which when you go to Britain, you see Islamic Bank of Britain there. When you come to Nigeria, it becomes a problem for us to practice Islamic banking. But then we cannot afford to just go asleep. One thing that really bothers me most is that as a Muslim, part of our faith is that we will live our lives by the injunction of the Quran. What then becomes of us if we want to access justice and then we cannot use the Sharia for our justice? What is the ruling of the Sharia on this kind of thing? If right now in Nigeria, if you want to access justice, then you have to go to the other courts. Meanwhile, as a Muslim, you are supposed to live your life by the injunction of the Quran. So this actually is my contribution. Thank you, sir.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Usrah. My contribution is this. The Prophet said, human nature has not changed since the time he created Adam. What has been changing is his height. I mean, the height of man from 60 cubic feet to what we have now. Man has tendency to bypass the law, especially the rulers. We've had cases of Muslim rulers persecuting Muslim scholars. Imam Malik is an example. Other scholars that died even in prison were there. In this country today, we still observe something like that. That people that uphold Sharia in this country appears to have established it for the prosecution of the poor. We have not seen high-profile cases taken to the Sharia court. And I think we are right that Sharia is not to appeal court. We have Sharia court of appeal, which is higher than the honorary level. Yet, we are not patronizing it. Secondly, no permission was sought by Muslims to be observing Salat. No permission to commence fasting or to fast. No permission to go on Hajj. Why do we continuously seek permission of government to adjudicate over disputed matter? Why don't we set up courts, even shows of this state, and start practicing it? By the time we say yes, but by the time to come to a time when no government will be able to oppose it again. For instance, America says stop praying. It's not possible. That is our own religion. What we now see is we see Goromiro, and most of the people there, most of them are Muslims. But they can now come out and say, in line with what is in the Quran, this is the judgment. It's still the jury as we just. And both Muslim and non-Muslim patronize these same public sittings. I think it's time we start doing something. Instead of requesting from government, let's find a way to establish court. That's number one. Number two, how do we establish check and balances in the application of Sharia?
I'm Abdul Fattah Abdul Majid. I first want to observe that if this topic has been Sharia and mundane law, or has been Sharia and common law, a lot of interest will have manifested here today. But because we say, somebody somewhere will say, water it down, Islamic law and common law. No, but people don't even see anything. And I think the starting point, we've been told, what do we stand to gain from upholding the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? But the starting point is, how many of us know what that law is? Because when they say the Christian, the non-Muslim doesn't want you to use the Sharia, you will see those against Sharia being more of the Muslims than the non-Muslims. I mean, for instance, when a sister refused to shake hands, it's a Muslim that will be telling her that I'm also a Muslim and I shake. So we need to know our religion. We need to be convinced that this is our faith and that there is nothing better than it is. The second one has to do with, when we were discussing about the Sharia, I remember asking somebody in Saudi Arabia that when you steal, they cut your hand. Said that is not the case. So that the starting point is that you do not place your property where it could entice somebody. That you don't place your property, that is the Sharia, you don't place it where it will entice somebody to steal. If that person has stolen, he could be convicted for another crime, they will not be convicted for stealing. Because what you have done was that, as a matter of fact, you are the one who invited. That tells, I'm just using that to bring out the beauty in the law given us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we also know, like the lawyers and the alim will say, the laws is to a large extent, to some extent, mabniyu. The law is given by Allah, except in areas that we have changes based on new demands. So what I'm trying to say in essence is that we need to know this law, know it's good for us before we can make it. When we complain, he has been able to give us everything. Nobody can change the Sharia. In fact, when people say, somebody at the last but one said the rich manipulated. We don't have Sharia in Nigeria. What you have in Nigeria is an adulterated Sudanese law brought to the northern part of Nigeria. If you are talking of the Sharia, we should be talking about another thing. But I think we also need to do more as an association and as Muslim group to ensure that this movement we started, or some people started on the Sharia, that we take it to logical conclusion. I know it has been approved by the state, but the problem, I don't know whether it has been gazetted. It has been gazetted. So the question we should now be asking is Barrister Adisa. I'm not talking of Barrister so like the word that we should be asking Barrister Adisa, which really a gathering like this need be told that now we are at the verge of taking our cases because it has been gazetted. This is the problem that is left, and where can an organization like this assist? Thank you.
The last contribution. Are you there, man? This is my idea. I'm here to dispense justice based on trust.
Thank Allah for our brother Trimidhi. I want to speak in now of Dr. Madolagwe on the issue of access. Brother Trimidhi, the totality of his presentation is that Sharia compliant justice is superior to the other system. If we all agree to this concept that Sharia system is superior, what efforts could be made to facilitate access to this? It's one thing to agree that something is greater than this. You just leave it just theoretical and just live like that. And Surah Al-Ma'idah, chapter 5 of the Holy Quran, three different verses, from 44, 47, and 49. Where Allah says, فَمَنْ يَقُولُ نَصَرَ اللَّهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الظَّالِمُونَ فَاسِقُونَ كَافِرُونَ. Whoever does not adjudicate with Islamic something, they are the rebellious, the ungrateful, and the fasikun. You see, the ugliest descriptions, three most ugliest descriptions are given to those who don't. Now, as Muslim individually, talking practically, I think we have a duty. It's one thing for us to ask government or to pass law or to sponsor a bill and the bill is rejected. But for us to get filler and regularly and not make effort that this thing come to true, I think we have something to tell Allah. For those who are above 21, that this is what the Holy Quran says. And there was a time in Nigeria that on Friday, on each day, people used to go to school. Our parents, our father, our uncles. They used to they work on each day, eat the victory, eat the other. But now it is a public holiday. I'm sure one day, what we see as very distant will come to now. I don't care that it's adulterated, it's Sudanic or Libya, I don't know. I don't care the nature. I don't care the nature. That we have that access. As Brother Adisa said, we go to mosque, we do azan, nobody will see, don't see anybody's permission to do that. But for us, we have to be aware and make effort that this thing be made available. I thank Allah that in Oshu State, we have independent Sharia panel. They sit maybe first Thursday of the month, although as now they do divorce, some minor family things, but they sit and they visit and cases are taken down. In Lagos also, in Abesan, mosque, there's a Sharia panel there, they sit regularly up to now, and also in Ibadan, Oyo State, Ibadan Central Mosque, there's a Sharia panel there. If this is popularized, that most major central mosques, we have a panel there. It's for them, if Muslims take their cases there and they are educated upon, it's for you to say, take it and appeal and do anything you like. It will be on our last day that I try my best to live by our last word. But for us not to make any effort and also to read the Quran alone without particularizing, I think we are not on the wizard. Mother, it was well done.
So I promise people that have questions that I will allow you. So, starting from Shehu here.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My question is in two parts. That is, A, on the issue of customary courts. I have had reasons to read on pages of newspapers sittings and decisions of customary courts affecting Muslim couples. And the president of the court may be a non-Muslim who adjudicates over the matter. And these matters may be exclusive family matters. And one had the cause to observe that even some marriages contracted under Islamic spirits in mosques are being dissolved at the customary courts by non-Muslim presidents. Don't we see the need for Muslims to be involved in the presidency of customary courts? What are the procedures for sitting in such offices and what are the criteria. That is the one. Then the other one is the issue of Idira. That a woman being maltreated by her husband, abandoned without any matrimonial commitment, only that the children are being financed. The husband is not sleeping in the same home with them, but paying rent and paying school bills. But the woman is outside his budget, still bearing his name as surname, and she is referred to as wife of. But the man has severed every relationship with her. What is the Sharia position on this? Thank you.
I think my question is directed to the speaker. I want to refer into the Adisa quoted about the division of the judges. That some are ignorant of the law, some are knowledgeable of the law, and some out of misconception or arrogantly because they want to satisfy themselves aggrandizement. What about the issue of sugar-coated lawyers? What sugar-coated lawyers? Because in Nigeria, it is how articulate a lawyer is. The two lawyers, whether it's the prosecuting lawyer or the defendant, that will determine what the judge
Okay, thank you.
In the early days of Islam, and from the examples that were given in the lecture, it's easy to see how Sharia principles and conception of justice easily beats the common law perception of justice. Now, question would be, those examples that we have are from, say, the first generation of Islam. Now, today's world, are those principles still present in states that practice Islam? Can those principles still be applied? If they are being applied, where are they being applied? And if not, why are they not being applied? I think we should also look at these issues in the context of some of the concerns that you raised about common law. Say, for example, immunity of government officials. One way to look at it would be to say that that immunity is granted because of the realities of today's globalized world. It is physically impossible for the head of state to be in all the states of the federation where it can be sued. Now, maybe we can compare Islam and common law properly. If Islamic principles have been applied continuously and are today being applied in today's world, and then particular Islamic solutions have been found to take care of the complexities of today's society, I don't think that we will get the debate right if we are comparing how it used to be in a different world and how another system of laws has changed to take care of today's complexities. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Now, these two scenarios now, I also know the difference in Islamic law and the common law. The first scenario is if somebody should lie against another person in the courts now. But we know in the common law that people do lie, based on what the lecturer said, you come, you bring in money, and he told us about the three judges now. But in an Islamic law, that kind of something should happen, and somebody should just come in, said this, as in the other person is truthful, and the other one is lying. But now you now convince the judge, the Sharia court, now to the extent that, okay, this person is right, this evidence is, well, what is the standard of Islam, and based on the particular this case now. The second one is, in a common law now, you know if somebody should bring a case to the court, it's known as the plaintiff now, and the person should bear now, they are going to strike out the case. How about in Sharia law, is it like that, or is there other thing that you have to be done?
Okay, thank you.
Salaam alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Yes, from the lecture of Brother Trimidhi, and based on my understanding, in Sharia court, I understood that there are three personalities. One, the judge, the registrar, and the complainant. Now, what is the real duties of those of us, the Sharia lawyers in Sharia court? Do you get the questions? When there are only three personalities there, then what are the duties of the Sharia lawyers?
Duties of Sharia lawyer?
Yes.
In those cases? In those instances? In Sharia court. Okay?
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Amali Abdelaziz. My question is, the speaker told us that he has been able to convince us the supremacy of Sharia law over the common law. But I want to ask, apart from the fact that companion has invited the speaker, has there ever been any effort by Muslim lawyers or Sharia lawyers to enlighten Muslims on the practice of Sharia law in our society? So that is my question.
Assalamu alaikum. I'll just gloss over some of these questions, but some of them requires detailed explanation and further research. Now, on whether Muslims can be appointed to the magistrate court, of course, a customary court, of course, efforts are underway, and the Lagos State assigned into law a law establishing Muslim court to run concurrently with the customary court, so that they will be charged with the responsibility of deciding on Muslim marriages, particularly in areas of marriage, divorce, inheritance, guardianship of children, and guardianship of children. So, at least we are through the efforts of Muslim Lawyers Association, we have a functional independent Sharia panel in Lagos. One is sitting at Adisa, the other one at 1004, and we are entertaining cases between Muslims on these areas. So I don't think we have any problem about that now. The Lagos State government is about to, we are on the verge of appointing the Muslim lawyers who will man this Sharia court, under the law. Now, the second one is, what is the Sharia position on a woman whose husband has severed relations with? Well, in Islam, until a marriage is dissolved, they will still be regarded as husband and wife. So the fact that the husband has severed the relationship with her does not mean that they are being divorced. The wife in Islam can as well take the initiative to dissolve a marriage. So what is expected of such a woman is to take the initiative to seek for divorce, and the marriage will be dissolved accordingly. Then another question says, are lawyers liable for misleading judges? Yes, they are liable, because under the general concept of justice in Islam, you see, justice is a personal attribute. If a Muslim lawyer deliberately misleads a judge, he has committed a sin. There's no doubt about that. So I don't think we need to flog that issue. So if a Muslim lawyer deliberately misleads a judge in coming to an unjust decision, then he knows that he is also going to be liable. If he's not liable in this world, he will be liable on the day of judgment. Now, somebody also asked, is Islamic law applicable in Muslim society, particularly in modern Muslim society? Yes, it is applicable, but there is a setback to Islamic law. You see, law can only develop if it is allowed to flourish through practice. So, a law that you don't practice, it won't develop. The reason why we have the common law as we have it today, this is not how the common law started. All these concepts that we have just examined today, they did not just start overnight. It took them centuries to even develop all these concepts. So the Sharia law has become stagnated long time ago, to the extent that even in Muslim countries, it is no longer applicable. So they don't like it because they know that at least this is a law that will readily curtail their power. So they have a way to restrict the application of the Sharia. So this is what is done in most Muslim countries. It's a restricted application of the Sharia that is there. But I can tell you that under the Sharia law can match with common law on all fronts if it is also allowed to be in practice. Because through that, at least we'll be learning. Our jurists will be engaged, and they will be propounding new rules of laws and so on through the instruments of Qiyas, Ijma, and so on. So all these things are available for our